I'm Nathaniel Liu from Townsweb Archiving, and I'll be taking a look back at some of our past TWA grant winners and talking about what the grant supported them to achieve for each of their collections. Today, I am joined by Val Jackson from the Liverpool Cathedral, who were the winners of the TWA grant in 2020. Nice to meet you, Val.
Hi.
So firstly, could you give a short overview of your organisation and of the collection you applied for funding for?
Yes, I work for Liverpool Cathedral, which was established in 1904 and finished in 1978, but is still an ongoing building project, as you might imagine. And I'm responsible for the archives, which constitutes all the correspondence relating to the building of the cathedral from the competition in 1904 right through to the present day, together with about 6,000 large-scale architectural drawings from the original architect Scott and Bodley right through to a series of 4 or 5 architects to the present day. We have about 3,000 original photographs, which again chart the building of the cathedral. And then alongside that, all sorts of works, collections of liturgy, the services that have gone on through the cathedral, lots of paintings that people have done at various stages of the cathedral. So it's a very broad spectrum collection, but our work with Townsweb was specifically to do with the large architectural drawings.
How did you hear about our digitization grant in the first place?
Well, way back in probably about 2010, we were thinking of digitizing some drawings with the then Clerk of Works. And when we looked at it, we realized we didn't have the funding for it. And of course, trying to get funding is incredibly difficult. So we've just been on Townsweb mailing list, really, ever since. And we've followed the development of Townsend and all the different projects, and happened to be fortunate enough in 2020 to have a fundraiser who was able to put a project together and apply for the funding.
Yeah, that's great to hear. So could you tell us more about what was unique about the type of material you were looking to digitize?
The very large A1 and A drawings, which date back to, as I say, to 1904. They had to be signed by both architects because Giles Gilbert Scott was a very young architect and had never done a project like this before. So we have the signatures of Scott and Bodley on the drawings right up to 1907 when Bodley died. They're absolutely beautiful. Many of them are hand-drawn in very infinite detail. And they literally, you could put them together like a Lego kit and build a cathedral from them because they give you every aspect of the development of the cathedral.
Yeah, it was really amazing seeing them firsthand, actually, being able to digitize them. There's so much detail in them.
Yeah, of course, because they've been stored in various places around the cathedral before we set up the archives in 2004. Some of them, as you will remember, Nathaniel, are very dirty and very fragile.
That's why it's like with most material, isn't it? Because it's just been left, where they've just been stored away in the side somewhere, or were they being used for anything before that?
Well, yes, they were being used, and this was one of the reasons that we wanted them digitized. We have an architecture course at Liverpool University, and each autumn semester we get requests from the students to have a look at the drawings for a particular project they're doing. But as you will appreciate, the size of them and the storage of them, getting them out is extremely difficult. Usually takes 3 of us, one to hold the drawer, one to hold the drawings up while we go underneath the pile to get just one drawing out. So having them digitized means that the students now can look online at the images. The architect can have his own copy of the digital images, so he can actually look at an image in his office away from the cathedral, and then come to the cathedral knowing exactly which drawing it is he wants to refer to.
Yeah, I think that's a really good benefit of the being digitized, right? Um,
Yes.
do you think you could talk about, is there any other like impacts of the funding or digitization of the collection that it had?
Well, we're hoping that we've also had some conservation work done on some large objects over the last few years. But of course, COVID's put a stop to everything. But we're hoping in September to put on a small exhibition of the works that we've had conserved, some works that we've had donated to us that are of interest to the archives, and to have a sort of I'm not quite sure what the technical term is, a sort of rolling program on a TV screen showing some of these digital images. So it will be open to the public, but we'll also be able to have an evening where we can invite interested people like architects, people from the Conservation Centre, and the sort of wider archive world in Liverpool. And
Yeah, that,
eventually, we hope, with some better IT connections than I've got, to have them available on the website and possibly on National Archives.
yeah, that sounds really interesting, actually. I'll be looking forward to seeing it online. Will it be available for public access
Well,
then?
we
Or?
hope so. I
Yeah.
mean, that was the plan. It's no good having these things done and then just sitting in a cupboard or on one person's computer. But we've got to look at things like copyright and people using them and using them properly.
Yep. Yeah, it's been really interesting finding about the project. And I would really recommend, obviously, I would recommend visiting Liverpool Cathedral to anyone that hasn't been before. I've been lucky enough to go myself because when I went
Yeah,
to collect,
yeah.
yeah, and yeah, it's really amazing. I didn't realize that it's the seventh largest cathedral in the world, I think, isn't it?
Hmm.
So obviously the plans must be, there must be a lot of plans and must be really
Oh, there
big.
are a lot of plans.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I think you digitized about 700, and probably in the same format we've got at least that many again, and then we go on to sort of computer drawn architectural plans, which is a different game altogether.
So were they made like quite recently then, or the computer
Well,
plans?
sort of the computer ones are from the 70s onwards. So once the west end of the cathedral was finished, the drawings weren't then hand drawn; they were generated by computer.
Okay. So do you have any final words you'd like to say?
No, just that it was a very good experience. It was good having you here. It wasn't an easy task to transport the drawings, as you will remember. But no, I would recommend Townsweb, obviously, to other people who are wanting to do digitising projects. And let's hope we get some more funding to do another project with you.
Yes, it would be really good if we could, because obviously the material is so interesting to see.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah. I know you guys. Do you have a charity abseiling event coming up soon?
we do.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah. I
yes,
hope
this
that goes
weekend.
well. Oh,
Yes,
oh, this weekend.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I hope that goes well. On, and I know like Liverpool Cathedral have events like all year round, don't they?
Yes,
So
yeah.
yeah, if
Yeah,
anyone's
we're
interested,
getting
I hope
back
they
into
check
the
it out.
swing now after COVID. So we're getting back to doing our big events.
That's great. So that's really it for today. So thank you, Val,
Lovely.
for today and talking to us about the grant. So if anyone wants more information about how to apply for this year's grant, then there will be a link on the next screen. So that's all
Yeah.
from me. Thank you, Val, and thank you to
Lovely.
everyone that watched this video. See you
Nice
next
to see
time.
you again. Bye.
Yeah. Bye bye.